Hello and welcome to this Friday's edition of the Legislative Update. I'm Bradford Raths, sitting in for Bill Potter, and we once again welcome Mark Messmer back to the WJTS studios.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, been kind of a busy week there. 20 to 30 bills come out of committee, as I understand.
All the committees had full calendars this week, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, all day Wednesday, Thursday morning. We had a busy week of activities, and about 25 to 30 bills came out of committee this week, so next week's calendar will be even busier on the floor on some final passages and bills, and so I had full committee hearing schedules in my committees this week, and had a few bills in those committees that are going to come back for some final passage next week. But we did pass a bill that Representative Braun from Zionsville had authored on. Oh no, this was Representative Cook's bill. Sorry, Braun's is next week. That sets up some evaluation of. We have hundreds of different types of tax incentive policies, whether they're tax credits, property tax issues, just abatements, all kinds of tax policy. We're going to set up a 5-year rolling review, kind of break them up in chunks of 20% per year, and look at each incentive and is it doing what we thought it would do, and then make recommendations to whether continue it or phase things out. But do that. We've got to set up now for a 10-year process. Do each tax policy section twice, and then see if it's doing what we wanted it to do, and if so, continue it, or if not, let it just die a slow, painless death.
All right. So it could change taxing just a little bit.
It could, yeah, but we really need to. I mean, every year we pass, more tax bills. We repeal some tax bills, but there's never really been a broad, over-encompassing look on how we handle them. So that's a bill that passed out of the Commerce Committee this week, and it'll be on the floor next week for some final action.
All right, so now as we move into some of the big bills that passed this week, preschool reimbursement. Let's start there.
We're one of only 10 states that don't have some way to help cover preschool programs, and what we're going to target our pilot program at is setting up to reimburse low-income families for preschool programs. And it really is more than just preschool. It encompasses, because most of the preschool programs they're all licensed under FSSA as daycare centers. So if you're going to be a large preschool, you're typically licensed as a daycare facility. So it'll allow those families to have some daycare and preschool reimbursement for low-income families. It'll cover the time period from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., which is what most daycares do. But passed out of the House 87 to 9, and actually most of the votes against it were Republican, not Democrats. So. I think there were some folks who just felt like they were concerned about the expense of the bill. This will just set up a pilot program, and we tried to get it passed. Got it passed out of the House last year. Didn't get action in the Senate, so this year we tweaked it a little bit and refined some of the concerns that the Senate had last year and brought it back again. Probably for the low-income folks who don't utilize any preschool programs, it really puts their kids kind of behind the 8 ball when they enter kindergarten and first grade without any type of preschool. They get a year to year and a half behind before they start. So this has been a good program.
And the learning environment is pretty fast in the present day.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is. The first 5 years are a very, very formative time of your life, and you need to try to help those kids get a little bit better jump start.
Yeah. So moving into other bills, publishing a list of criminal offenses.
Yep. We're going through, we have a really large encompassing, it's called House Bill 1006. It's the criminal sentencing reform bill that's been about a 5-year process. But during that study of lining up all the criminal offenses, there's a criminal code section called Title 35. Well, they came up with about 35 pages of other criminal offenses elsewhere in law that aren't in Title 35, and so House Bill 1008 requires we publish a list for prosecutors of all the different sections in code where criminal offenses are listed, beyond just the normal criminal statute sections in Section 35. So House Bill 1008 was basically publishing that list of other criminal offenses noted throughout code, and passed unanimously. Kind of a no-brainer bill, but help prosecutors life a little easier.
All right. Now moving on to House Bill 1032. Let's dive into what's going on with House Bill 1032.
Okay. Did I have a title on that one?
It says NV yet.
Oh, we didn't vote on that one. Not
Okay.
voted on. Yeah, that one is a redistricting commission. And I tried to look up all the bills that we had on third reading, and House Bill 1032 was kind of set up a nonpartisan redistricting commission, and that one's still, that's on the calendar for Second Amendment reading, but hasn't received final passage yet.
So moving now then down the list, House Bill 1041, oaths and acknowledgments, documents.
Okay. What that does is allows the Adjutant General of the National Guard to be a authorized notary for folks who are on military duty. Currently, they're not included in the list of people who can notarize documents, and that would help servicemen when they're on active duty have somebody to go to for their notary work.
Yeah. House Bill 1057, this one's kind of an interesting one, wanting NDOT to set a uniform standard for railroad crossings.
Right.
As you were telling me before we got here, kind of the railroad companies
companies do that, set that standard themselves now. They determine what they think is safe or not. And it leaves for some wide range of what what would be considered safe, clear view as you enter a rail crossing or not. So we're gonna let that fall under the jurisdiction of NDOT. So as you're approaching a rail crossing, we want them to develop some uniform standards for how far you have clear view of the train coming from each way, and where the unobstructed view isn't large enough, then probably then they would recommend some automatic signals in places where the view is not clear.
Right. And then finally on the list of bills, emergency broadcasting, training and planning for that.
Right. There's really no set standard for for when there's snowstorms, tornadoes. There's really no set of standards of training folks on how to act, adequately get those emergency broadcasts out to folks. So that was another one that passed unanimously, and I think the storms we had in Indianapolis and really throughout Indiana this past week touched on that point, once again on need for some uniformity and conformity on how we train folks to do that.
Right. Now, you had kind of a neat moment this week. The Bar Reeve volleyball team was able to come up and...
Always nice when you have a state champion. Anytime there's a sports team or band, like we had with Jasper Band last year, and they win state championships, we bring them up for recognition in front of the whole house. And when schools are available to get their students up there, it's always a lot of fun. They had the coaches, some of the faculty members, and all the varsity and junior varsity girls, in their volleyball program came up on Thursday. It's House Resolution number 1. So they were the first ones to get recognized this session, and kind of neat. They ended up sticking around for a couple hours afterward and did some tours of the State House with my legislative assistant, and we went out for some pictures and stuff out in the hallway afterward. And just a neat experience, and their first state championship in any sport. They've been in the state finals, I think, 4 or 5 times in basketball, and this was their 5th time in state finals in volleyball. And finally, they got the job done. And so it was a neat celebration, kind of the lighter moments of the job that are a lot of fun.
Something they'll probably remember for a long time, too.
Absolutely.
So kind of on a final note, let's kind of take a look ahead as we go forward this upcoming week and maybe even beyond. Okay,
well, Monday is Martin Luther King Day, so we have an off day on Monday, but Tuesday we'll hit the ground running. Oh, also this past week, Tuesday evening, we had State of the State, and Wednesday we had State of the Judiciary. So those are some formal speeches that we have every year. Next week we'll hit a full calendar of heavy floor work on bills that have passed out of committee this week, and also on full slate of committee work, because this will be the last full week of committee activity. The following week we'll have Monday and Tuesday of committees, and then Wednesday of next week, all committee work has to, the 28th, 29th is kind of the wrap up for the first half of session. So we're beginning to have discussions with senators that are going to be sending us bills, and getting familiar with what's coming our way, and talking to senators about what we're sending to them for the second half of session. So it'll be pretty brisk week. The short sessions are so condensed that things move really fast, and so we'll have a full slate of all the committees I'm in on Wednesdays will be fully loaded. I think we're going to have 4 bills in Commerce Committee on Wednesday. Normally we try to do 2 or 3, but we're going to try to tackle 4 this week because we don't have another hearing the following week. So it'll be a busy week at the State House.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, Mark, thank you again for stopping by the studios.
You're welcome, anytime.
This has been our legislative update with District 63 State Representative Mark Messmer. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.